Entering into the low-poly world of classic Quake and Doom games has been the dream of edgy teenagers for ages, and now that's possible with Doom Guy's Cthulhu Guy's latest adventure. Traveling through forests, farms, and a bustling 1930s city, a journalist or priest, dealer's choice, gets to fulfill their lifelong goal of murdering thousands of civilians and monsters in Forgive Me Father, a Lovecraftian nightmare of a throwback. Gameplay, and a little about the story. Forgive Me Father pops you into a confusing narrative about how the town of your cousin has been taken over by an unknown entity, and for some reason he asks for the help of a journalist instead of the police or the military. As the person going to help with this, you arrive armed with no more than a revolver in this 1920s town that is now filled with monsters and possessed citizens, all looking to slaughter you. I tried my best to follow the narrative in Forgive Me Father, but was completely unable to figure out much of what was going on other than the town is possessed by a Cthulhu-like monster that you need to free it from. There are cutscenes with a narrator between every few levels that sort of describe what's going on, but you usually end up popping into the next level with little or no context. You are given the choice of playing as a priest or journalist, each with their own unique skill tree, which is surprisingly robust. You gather new guns and weapons along the way, which each have a different feel and purpose, while the skill tree allows you to modify these weapons by increasing fire rate, changing damage types, or turning the weapon into something else entirely. These upgrades can be done at any time, with the game's version of Souls bonfires serving as save locations and checkpoints. I did really like the weapon selection and skill tree here, with the weapons all feeling completely unique, but you can use them as you see fit. This is different than in games like Doom, as you can use all the weapons to kill every enemy instead of cycling through to find that monster's weakness. Monsters far away, use the crossbow sniper. Lots of monsters around, whip out a shotgun or machine gun. While some are stronger than others, which is only natural in a game with so many options, you never feel like you're at a disadvantage when choosing your tool of destruction. When battling these hordes of enemies, you fly around the maps at Mach 30, often feeling like you just snorted crack after being interrupted by your hourly speed dosage. I can't think of a game that I've played where you move faster than Forgive Me Father, and it almost always works, except for in the few platforming sections where I tended to overshoot my destination or fly over the side while trying to adjust my position slightly. This speed does help during the combat, however, as you battle a few different types of monsters and possess citizens that throw potions, slice you with knives, or toss what I can only assume was their own feces. The regular enemies all felt really good to fight against, providing a small challenge on the hardest difficulty, but nothing insurmountable. There are also boss fights at the end of each chapter, each of which provide their own movesets and difficulty. These were a huge step up from the regular enemies and smaller bosses, with two of them really proving to be more frustrating than difficult. When fighting the ugly fish in Cthulhu, I strongly recommend turning the difficulty down, as they were the most frustrating sections of gaming that I have ever encountered, which is a strong statement from someone who really enjoys Souls-like games and Metroidvania. Other than those two specific bosses, I found all of the bosses and enemies provide a solid and enjoyable challenge, roughly equivalent to the Doom and Quake games of old. Sound, music, and voice. If you enjoy the sounds of bursting flesh and moist brains smacking the walls, then you're going to love this. Every death sounds like the worst noise you could get to come out of your mouth, but in the best possible way, and every gun has a distinct effect that lets you know that you just tore someone's head off with a crossbow or blew them into 5,000 pieces with a buckshot. It's all really well done with modern effects, but still fits with the old school 90s aesthetic, and could easily be thrown into your favorite Doom game from your childhood seamlessly. The music here goes right along with the effects, which in the times where it is playing sounds absolutely immaculate. The only problem with the music was that it seemed to play at random times rather than during high-intensity fights or to fit in with the ambiance. I had ambient music playing during fights, loud guitar solos playing while I was platforming, and occasionally it would just cut out entirely after a few fantastic seconds. When it's working correctly, it's awesome. The only problem is that it's rarely working correctly other than the chapter-ending boss battles. Voice acting is where this game's sound starts to really fall apart. I did my playthrough as a journalist, and hearing her narrate every single thing going on made me want to pull out what little hair I have left. She sounded more like a Valley Girl from 2010 than a journalist from 1920, and it was extremely jarring every time she spoke, which is about every 8 seconds. This took me out of the game and bothered me every time without fail, so I would recommend turning off voice if you pick this game up to just enjoy the combat. Graphics and art. The choice of 2D monsters in a 3D world works really well here, giving the game a unique art style that I enjoyed quite a bit. While it essentially is just another boomer shooter, the direction Byte Barrel took with their art makes it feel like something more, and allows the game to stand out where it otherwise might have just blended in with other choices gamers have when selecting something in this genre. This choice in art style allows this game to survive in a retro style as well, where a more realistic graphical style might have sent it straight to Cthulhu's pit of despair when prettier games inevitably emerge. Performance. I played this on a 4900K and RTX 3070 and had very few stuttering issues and no problems with pop-in or graphical generation. I did have a few crashes, which were frustrating as there are very few save points throughout the level, so this often made me restart the increasingly long levels entirely. I don't see a whole lot of graphical issues arising on lower NPCs due to the low poly art style that takes very little power to render, and I was able to play on max settings for the entire playthrough with no major problems. Lowering the settings did not decrease crashing, and I was unable to replicate my crashes, so I am not sure what the cause of those were. Final verdict. This game is a sale purchase for me, with the $20 price tag on Steam feeling a bit steep for what you get. I completed this game in just under 10 hours, and while the combat is mostly enjoyable and the art is incredible, there are some other problems that drag this game down, with the voice acting falling flat and the major bosses proving more frustrating than difficult and a pretty short story. Maybe I need to ask for forgiveness, but I feel like $10 is a fair price point for Forgive Me Father, with so many other options out there for similar games. If the art style really speaks to you like it did to me, then this game is a ton of fun, but if it doesn't, then you're going to be jumping into another regular boomer shooter. I do reviews like this one for the games I play on stream, so check me out on Twitch if you're interested in watching me experience these games. If you liked the review, give it a like, and if you didn't, then give it a dislike. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.